So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Today's session is about the role of connected and intelligent data in driving business transformation across the construction industry. And we want to really speak about this in the context of the Middle East and the activities that are happening in the region. To introduce ourselves, I'm Anilesh Kumar. I'm the CEO of Levtech Consulting, which is an RIB software company. And with me, I have Andrew Hill from Cloud A2K. Andrew joins us from Australia, and A2K is also an RIB software company. We are part of the same group. RIB is a technology company, and our mission is to drive digital transformation of the building and infrastructure industry and transform it into a more efficient and sustainable industry. And this is what we are fully dedicated and working towards. In this journey, we are partnered with Schneider, who's our majority stakeholder. And with Schneider, we also have a great focus on sustainability, which is very important for the next generation of our planet and for the future of our planet. As I said, we are a technology company, and we work with a cloud-first, AI-first, and mobility-first mindset. So we are really working at the cutting edge of technology, and we've been doing this for a while. We've got about 50 years of industry experience working with leading construction companies across major economies in the world, across Europe, US, Asia. We have over 600,000 users on our platform, and that's a growing number. We are supported by a team of about 2,500 plus construction experts who really bring consultative value to the technology deployment process. And we are rated by industry peers as one of the leading ERP providers for the construction industry. So we're quite well recognized from an industry standpoint. So looking at the construction industry, and many of you would know this, the construction industry is a massive industry. It contributes about 13% of the global GDP, about 11 to 12 $trillion, and it's a growing industry as well. But despite the growth that the industry sees and the really strong achievements that the industry does from an innovation and design standpoint, we see that the industry has always been plagued by issues of efficiency, performance, and sustainability. Many of you would know that the productivity growth in the industry has been at an average of about 1% over the last 20 years, as opposed to 2.8% for all other industries. And if you look at some industries like manufacturing, they have really done far better over the last 20 years. And this is due to the adoption of standardization, adoption of systems in their manufacturing processes, and automation in general over the last 20 years, which has really led to a change in the business model in manufacturing. So speaking about the inefficiencies that the industry sees, and many of you would be living this on a daily basis, you would see that the industry is cyclical in nature. So customer demand is cyclical, and that leads to a project-based approach with a lot of activity happening on site, which typically is not very efficient. And the general outcome is that we have low productivity, which I just spoke about. The other aspects that we see which lead to inefficiency is the complexity of supply chain and the fragmented nature of supply chain in the construction industry. And again, low collaboration in this highly fragmented industry, because there is really not a very strong adoption of digital platforms to drive collaboration across different players and stakeholders in the value chain. Further, we see misaligned contractual structures between owners and contractors, where risk is passed between parties, and it's not generally a win-win equation. And many times that leads to high risk for either of the parties and low profits in general for the contractors. Typically, we see an EBIT of 5% across the industry, which is quite low as compared to most other industries. And within the ecosystem of delivery in construction, we see that there's a lot of use of temporary labor, subcontractors, and again, there's limited strategic alignment towards this usage. This is again stemming from cyclical demand. And the end result of these inefficiencies is that there is low customer satisfaction, generally due to overruns in terms of time and budget. One study mentioned that we overrun about 20% of the project in terms of time and about 80% in terms of budget at a global level, which is not a great situation to be in. Now, what has COVID done to this situation? COVID has really come in, and there are the negative impacts, right? So if you look at the graph on the right, you will see that there are a large number of projects that are cancelled or suspended in the region, and you can see that Saudi and UAE are maybe at the highest of the list, which is representative of market size as well. And that has impact in terms of the amount of business that is available for the industry to consume. The time for work to convert into cash has also risen over the last 4 years. As you can see, work in progress conversion to receivables has gone up by about 2.5 times over the last 4 years, and similarly, receivables to cash has also almost gone up by 1.5 times. So that's a significant impact on how cash flows can be managed in the environment. And as you see, contractual disputes again and claims are becoming more and more difficult as time goes by. So all of us know that it is a tough environment that we are operating in. There are challenges, and again, I'm using statistics from McKinsey at the right bottom of my screen, where 400 CXOs who reviewed all the parameters of the industry, 90% of them agree that there is a need for change in the industry, and when the change happens at pace, it typically is disruptive. Now, it's important for us to really have a view of the future. We know that the future is going to be stronger, and the path of COVID will be strong, and we have to be ready for the future with a digital mindset, with an agile mindset, and technology is really going to play a very important role in how we progress into the future as an industry. So speaking more from a regional context, we know that the region is looking at diversification away from oil as a key parameter, and infrastructure is going to be a very important pillar in that journey of diversification. We are seeing that already happening with UAE's Vision 2021, with the Expo around the corner, and we're going to see investments coming out of that exercise. We're seeing Saudi really driving Vision 2030, large investments into tourism, mega cities, into healthcare, education, and again, infrastructure is a central player in that vision. And Qatar, again, with the World Cup and Vision 2030, really looking at, they've already gone down a long road in terms of building up infrastructure for the World Cup, but there will be a second wave of infrastructure development on the back of economic growth driven by the World Cup. So we know that infrastructure is going to be a sizable portion of the regional growth story in the future. And for us to really take a piece of that growth and convert that into profitability and sustainability for us, I believe that digitalization and technology has a very, very important role to play. And we need to do that right now rather than later, because we really can't wait for the future. And technology has a time that it takes for gestation and to mature within your own organizations. So speaking about the current state of the industry, and this is not at a regional level, this is probably at a global level with varying degrees of, let's say, shift or change happening. We see that the industry is project-oriented, starting with design. Developers or customers have unique needs from a design standpoint, and we build up unique designs to meet that specific need. And that has limited reuse or repeatability. Going into the supply chain, again, it's fragmented. There are multiple players involved. These players don't necessarily collaborate. There is limited digital interaction between the stakeholders. And typically the suppliers deliver to construction sites through rental companies or distributors. At the construction site, what we see is that there is a lot of manual labor, large workforces, subcontractors, and manual activities, which are again controlled through manual processes or sometimes semi-automated processes. And as an end outcome, what we typically see is that there are delays, sometimes rework, high risk for contractors and developers, almost everybody involved in the value chain. And the end product that we deliver typically may not be energy efficient. It may not be adding to sustainability, and there may be challenges there. Now, this is not representative of every project, but I'm speaking more holistically, more generally from an industry standpoint. And what we see the industry shifting towards into the future is that we move away from a project-based approach to more of a product-based approach, very similar to manufacturing. Starting with design, where we would look at parametric design, object libraries to really have reusable designs built up. These components that are imagined or built into the design go into the supply chain, which is a lot more consolidated. So contractors could in the future typically have a greater say in the supply chain, either through strategic alignment with suppliers or through owning some of the supply chain through vertical integration. The suppliers would then, work very efficiently with logistics, 3PL or internal, to deliver to construction sites in a just-in-time approach. Construction sites would be, highly efficient. They would be lean in nature. They would do a lot more assembly with prefabrication coming in. A lot of work would happen off-site. We would bring as less work on-site as possible, and it would be done in terms of assembly. And the end outcome that we see is that we would see energy efficient buildings and projects that are delivered on time and typically inside budget. Now, if you look at the last slide, and I'll just go back to that, you'll see that the role of technology across this value chain is split across different departments, different silos, different players. So to drive collaboration between them is difficult. To gather data and to really structure data is a difficult process. Going forward, this will become easier. There will be more systems that come into play, starting from BIM, where we'll start seeing the use of 5D BIM, where developers or contractors or other players in the industry can visualize BIM beyond 3D. It would go towards integrating BIM to time and cost, and you would really visualize your project virtually before it goes into physical construction. You would see a lot more coordination at a supplier level through digital channels, whether it's online supplier portals, automated manufacturing systems used by the suppliers themselves for manufacturing products, and connecting to logistics players to really deliver to the construction site. So again, a lot of technology coming into play in the supply chain. At the site, we would see that there is again a lot of efficiency drivers in the form of wearables, in the form of mobile applications that can really control activity on site and ensure that we're really delivering value on the construction activity on site. And eventually the buildings also will be absorbing a lot of technology in terms of IoT sensors and predictive maintenance and maintenance capabilities. So really a large play of technology across the value chain. And this is the shift that we see happening. And this shift is not going to happen today. This will happen over the next 5 or 10 years. But that shift has already started, and COVID has been an accelerator for sure. So the 3 key drivers for business transformation in the construction industry from our perspective are data. So data is central to what we see as the journey for any company to move from a project-based approach to a product-based approach. And what we need to think as construction organizations is whether we have that plan, and do we have an approach towards getting structured data that can help us in this journey of moving from a project-based business to a product-based business? Do we have structured data or a path towards structured data to really understand how we bid and how we execute? How do we control our supply chain? How do we manage our human resources? And how do we understand our customers better? So the data strategy of any construction company is going to become increasingly relevant and important over time. Looking at the context of where things are today, and this is based on what we typically see speaking to different construction organizations, I would say that that is the lowest rung of the pyramid, as you see it, is the data pyramid. So today we are in a digital world, so all construction companies and a lot of processes are creating a lot of data. Now this data resides in Excel sheets, in PDFs, in emails, so it's not really structured. There could be some tools in between, could be an estimation tool, could be a scheduling tool, and these tools may be adding value within departments, but again, they do not drive insights or do not give you enough information for decision making. We see that a lot of companies have moved beyond data to information, and when I say information, I mean that a lot of companies have reports typically around project controls, around financials, around supply chain parameters. But again, these reports are semi-manual, so it involves people, it involves Excel, it may not come to you at the right time, and sometimes it's not accurate as well. So again, it does not really give you the full capability to make accurate and timely decisions. And what we see going forward is once you have a platform approach towards your business and towards the digitalization of your business, you would really have an ability to build knowledge in your business where you have access to real-time data across the value chain, connected data, and accurate data. And once you have this, you are one step away from the holy grail of digitalization and construction, which is the predictive capabilities. So whether it is predictive estimation, predictive scheduling, maintenance, these capabilities become feasible only once you have structured data and the capacity to manage structured data. And this is the journey that the industry would take and companies would take, and companies that do this earlier would see success and profitability and EBIT growth versus companies who would see their margins and revenues erode over a period of time. So digitalization, like I said, today is being performed through tools. So we see that companies typically have tools that meet departmental objectives. These tools may or may not talk to each other. Many times they do not talk to each other in a seamless manner. The stakeholders all operate independently. They're in silos, so they do not really have a way to manage workflow or processes between them. And typically the pitfall of this approach is that you have a lot of data inconsistency, data sometimes being lost between processes or between departments, and typically inability to really build transparency and visibility into enterprise data in a consistent manner. So we believe that successful digitalization requires connected and structured data. You need a platform approach. You need to have a single database, a single source of truth. You need to have all the stakeholders working together, processes, workflow, all of it happening on one platform, with building information modeling being the starting point and financials being the end point, and all the process being connected in between as the future of how a construction industry should work. And this integrated enterprise platform will really provide structured data, which can really drive eventually visibility and transparency and the ability to really take right decisions at the right time in the construction industry. So that's a quick run through from my end on what we are looking at from a construction industry perspective. And I will let Andrew take it forward from here in terms of how he sees a construction company using digitalization and what would be the end outcomes of that approach. And before we get into that, I'll probably run a short video that we built for the World Economic Forum, which summarizes a little bit of what I spoke about. So Andrew, over to you.
Yep, thanks, Anilesh. So thank you everybody for attending today. Really do appreciate it. I've been privileged enough to actually be working with businesses around the globe in digital transformation or business transformation, not just in digital capacity. And it's very common when we're talking to people and trying to delve in and understand what organizations are trying to achieve, that they all have very succinct and common problems that they're trying to solve. And all of those problems stem back to data, which is why the integration of BIM, the integration of structured data and a single source database that actually applies and recognizes this becomes so important for us. But it really comes down to the underlying problems that we see in the industry and what an integrated platform will allow you to achieve, or an integrated approach, which is it really will start to give us that true visibility into our projects and into our businesses. So we always will have the ability to go in and check the current operation of any enterprise intuitively and intelligently, and ensure that we trust the data that's in place. It also allows us to start doing things around measuring the business performance and profitability, because we will always be able to actually break down and understand systemic problems right down to a root cause issue, and then look at how we resolve those throughout process improvement and changes to our installation or manufacturing processes. It also allows us to really go in and discover some of the hidden problems of managing projects and things that we normally won't discover. My most common example is HSE, or health, safety, environment, become a very big factor in construction these days. Yet it's one that seems to be managed outside of the normal realms of quality and safety and defects around site management, where really that's just another integrated part of what we do. So understanding and being able to control and manage those hidden costs that we don't really see through construction allows us to, again, look at ways that we can optimize. It also allows us to look at forecasting future development, understanding cash flow, understanding, as Anilesh was pointing out before, our time from expenditure to return, and how we can start maximizing and capitalizing on that as we move forward in construction, so that we can start planning out how and what we develop for future activities. And it also then the key advantage is that we can start optimizing our design decisions, not based on a single set of data like a model or a model orientation, but we can start optimizing our decisions based on a multi-dimensional data result, where we're doing a comparison of time, cost, schedule, manufacturing processes, time to site, and a whole range of other activities, because we're integrating everything that we're leading through. Thanks, Anilesh. This visibility is something that we see is really important, and really starting to understand and get access to project and enterprise overview of our business is something that every organization that I go to is important. In our own organization, we actually went through and rationalized so that we can get everything in front of us inside of succinct dashboards and really start to understand how our business is performing, not by having to go through multiple spreadsheets or multiple applications, but by having a single interface that we tie all of the data to, so that we can have a very clear and concise understanding around how our business is operating. Thanks, Anilesh. This links into things around our financial perspective, where we can actually start having a look at our enterprise view of all projects, be able to actually start delving in and understand how each individual project is performing, and then having a look at our things around our cost variance on planned versus actual, or actually really going in and looking at where we've had forced delays or forced increase in expenditure, again, so that we can really delve into what the root cause is of those issues. Thank you, Emily. It also allows us to go in from a project management perspective, and project management in construction is one, to get really good construction managers is very expensive. They're expensive for a reason, which is they actually really help us to control, manage, and optimize what we're doing in terms of project delivery. But the advantage that we have from having an integrated platform and tying all of our data together is that we can really simplify and understand how our project flows are going, and get a clear understanding of each phase of delivery, understand around delays, understand about the on-time, lag time, and ahead of time tasks that we're dealing with, and really start to delve into how we can optimize our sort of key metrics around project delivery. Thanks, Anilesh. And quality and safety is the other one that we find is really, really important to us. So whether that's through just doing our inspection test plans, our ITPs, whether that's doing defect monitoring, whether that's around safety initiatives, site diaries, everything that actually leads to us integrating into a safer and quality-led work site, we can actually start managing, controlling, and looking for ways to improve it. You know, as an organization, we've even gone as far as actually developing an application that allows us to go in and do site monitoring in a COVID situation called I2 Safe, where we can actually start now tracking social distancing and making sure that we have safe distancing between people. So all of these actually can be reported on and monitored so that we can actually ensure that we're maintaining and managing a quality, high quality, high safety site, and ensuring that we're optimizing, getting the most efficiency out of our workers in the safest manner possible with the best delivered result. Thanks, Anilesh. And the other thing is, as a number of organizations, we're all dealing with other additional contractors or subcontractors that are coming in and working with us. But one of the things that we are not very good at is actually evaluating and understanding the quality and success that we have with those business partners that we are working with in terms of project delivery. So we actually can go as far as even loading up and understanding all of the vendors and partners that we work with, ensuring that they comply with the way that we work, and ensuring that we can understand how successful they have been on past projects so we can decide if we want to work with them again. It's very big in the industry that we'll go out to tender, and the first thing we'll do is look for the cheapest price. And quite often the cheapest price is giving us the lowest quality or the largest delays. And this is a way that we can actually run a valuation against all of those partners that we've been working with on past projects and really use that as a root cause analysis and actually start putting in a weighting system so that we can understand all of the criteria with how we determine who we want to work with in construction to ensure we get, again, the most optimal result for our business. Thanks, Anilesh. So as Anilesh introduced, you know, we work with a technology platform which is called M2. So it's a cloud hosted application that is really about tying the construction industry together. The industry is fragmented, as Anilesh said, and the one thing around digitization is people that are dealing with design say, no, construction industry is highly digitized, and it is through design. But what we found is that those very succinct and highly established BIM models that we're dealing with, we're getting left on the shelf, and people were still going to site with 2D plans, still costing off of PDFs, and still actually not intelligently using that data. So what we want to be able to do is use the intelligence of BIM and the intelligence of data-rich modeling to actually ensure that we can have a concise, cyclonic understanding of our project delivery from our plan phase of our models, our model management, our quantity takeoff, our estimating, scheduling, into 5D simulations, into our construction activities through prefabrication, procurement, resource management, project control, site management and finance, all the way through to handover. And then looking at from an operate side, how we can digitally hand over a model and all of the information that we've captured so that a site can be managed more effectively. Thanks, Anilesh. So the way that we've structured that is around enterprise digitization, where we actually start building in workflow management, enterprise data, enterprise resource, enterprise partner management, and remote communication for reporting, built in with over 200 different modules that we have the ability to access with things around BIM management, estimating, 5D simulations, project and quality management, quantity takeoff, and really just going into a whole range of things. And again, because this is built in a cloud environment, it allows us to actually link into the BI functions and business intelligence, which ultimately is going to run through algorithms as part of our artificial intelligence back end, so that we can start having the system make decisions for us that we're just validating and ensuring that they are the decision that we want to endorse. Thanks, Anilesh. So a really big part of the industry, and the first place to start is really about moving from this 2D and 3D model into 5D BIM, so that we can really start to understand and structure a model environment to a quantity takeoff to a schedule, and then understand time and cost analysis around that model as we go forward. Thanks, Anilesh. So, and one of the things that we've actually been able to do is really tie these all together so that we can basically be building our schedule requirements of planned versus actual, have multiple schedule simulations running, and actually understand what our planned versus actual state is in terms of construction moving forward, but also in terms of time. We can break this down to any particular day, to any particular week, or to any particular cycle, so we can always start to have a very clear and concise understanding of how our model is going together, what stage we're at, what's been built, how it fits into a milestone or progress payment, and really start to understand this from a 5D point of view so that we can improve project outcomes. We're reducing risks on our projects, and we're really enhancing and planning our construction processes efficiently and effectively. Thanks, Anilesh. So this is really, as we say, this is just about connecting all of the teams and empowering them by data, making sure that people have access to the data that's important to them. Not everybody needs access to all data throughout a project, but what we do is we actually go through role by role, understand what data they need access to, understand what workflows, what approvals they need to go through, and then really start building a system that's based off of data access, data availability, and workflows around approvals and access rights for those individuals or groups within an organization. Thanks, Anilesh. And that comes back into building an enterprise knowledge database where we understand our codes, our code compliance, we understand our catalogs and what catalogs we're working with, any templates that we're dealing with around BOQs or schedules or structures, any of our calculation rules on any of our rate books, really building up that enterprise knowledge database that can then link into all of the projects that we're working with as an organization. Thank you, Anilesh. And in finishing up, as we said, the future is moving into business intelligence and AI. So part of AI isn't just around the algorithms and the data that we're using, but it's how we access now and start to use data more effectively. So one of the key things that we've been working on is our Mac2 interface, which is really a chatbot that enables people to be hands-free on site. So it means that we can be talking into our smartphone or device. It means we can be talking to our computer, and it will actually answer questions for us based on the way that we respond, and then actually the algorithms that it runs in the background. So we can go to our chatbot, we can ask it to bring up a schedule, we can ask it to schedule meetings, we can ask it to predict the cost or look at the cost over a past week, and it really helps us as we go through and start analyzing and making better decisions, but also accessing our data in a more efficient way. And you can do that really just by one day's training of the Mac2 interface, so that it understands your voice, understands the way you talk, and then it learns from that and can predict how it needs to answer questions for you as you move forward. And these are the really big steps that we're going through in digitizing the industry to ensure that we do have that flexibility and access to being much smarter with the way we work, and really tapping into the deep learning and machine learning capabilities that are already there in the industry. That's it from my side, guys. So Anilesh, I think you're going to play another video, and then hopefully we've got enough time for a couple of questions, because I know that we're a couple of minutes late. Sorry.
Thanks, Andrew. I'll play the video and then we go into questions after that.
The stories of innovative technologies disrupting traditional industries is well known. From transportation to banking, cutting-edge digital solutions like fintech, insurtech, health tech, retail tech, and more are adopted everywhere for digital transformation. As other industries have seen productivity levels shoot up over the past 2 decades, but the building and construction industries have been slow to embrace transformative technologies. The consequence is productivity in this sector is still mostly flat. while the construction industry makes up 13% of the world's GDP, with over 12 trillion USD output, which is the biggest industry sector in the world. The question is, how many waste and inefficiency costs can be saved? How this gigantic industry can be greener and more sustainable to the Earth climate? There is no alternative to digitization. PropTech and Contech are the only gateway to transform the building and construction industry. RIB, with its cutting-edge i2 technology, is the leading digital innovator of Contech and PropTech, providing a fusion of advanced technologies in an integrated cloud platform, M2. To differentiate the levels of digital transformation from primitive starting level with 2D CAD drawing to 3D BIM model to carry more detail of information, and to the most advanced platform technology that empowered stakeholders to manage the full lifecycle of the project, M2 is the world's #1 vertical cloud platform for the building and construction industry. M2 allows identification of potential constructability through its unique virtual into physical process to virtually simulate the performance of the building process, and as data source twinning the virtual model with the physical building helps significantly in decision-making during every phase of the whole lifespan of the building, increases collaboration and reduces inefficiencies. M2 is combined with Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. The boundaries between work phases of the build process are disappearing. In such a landscape of interconnectedness, digitalization in the build process enables improved predictability and reduces project risks by putting the data at the center. M2 platform is result in a more efficient use of data resources, more effective communication and collaboration within all stakeholders, leading to a leaner enterprise management. Digital transformation is all about finding new ways to do more with less. RIB, as the leading innovator of Contech and PropTech to transform the building and construction industry into the most advanced industry. Running together, we build the future for the next generation.
So yeah, just before we jump into questions, I just want to quickly introduce the concept of how we engage with the construction organizations or real estate companies. We typically try to work on a virtual lab, which basically involves deep discussions around your processes. We take your data, we simulate your data in the platform, and we work through 2 days of workshops where we really provide a hands-on experience and a deep insight into how collaboration can be delivered through the platform. An end outcome also is that we together build a digital transformation roadmap with your organization, and if things work well, then we move forward from there. So that's a typical engagement model, and we would be happy to discuss this with any of you separately after the session. So with that, I think we go into Q&A. I think we're short of time, but we can.
I was just say, I think we're out of time, Anilesh. So I think Kieran's already cut us off and said there's no time for questions. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. So I think we will end with that. Thank you for your time and attention, and we look forward to speaking with all of you shortly as well. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.